guys, welcome back to the channel. So we've got another car that's on the Evo Top 100 list that we're going to try today. This is a 4.3 Aston Martin V8 Vantage, a car I know particularly well, having worked with them in the trade before. I had a call from our friends down at Fisher Performance again. Thank you very much, Jack. He gave me a call and said, do you know what, I've got another car that might be on your list. It's just coming as a part exchange, so please excuse the muck and grime. It's a brand new part exchange. What can you do? Let's take a look around it. Timeless classic, this car. They drive amazingly well and I'm looking forward to showing you. But 4.3 litre engine, it started life as a JLR unit, 4.2, bored up to 4.3 by the guys at Aston Martin. 380 brake horsepower, 6-speed gearbox, soundtrack to die for, and looks to die for as well. How can anybody deny the Vantage, the baby Vantage when it came out? Stunning car. But this is a lot of people's first Aston Martin, very pure driving experience. Let's see what it's all about. By the way, this guy here with his lawn mowing, is that not the absolute dream on a spring day? Is that not the absolute dream? Here he comes, going to mow the lawn just before he interrupts us, which I'm more than happy with. Isn't that the dream? Just mow lawns all day. I'd be well up for that. Especially on out today. The beast. There it is. Again, 4.3 litre V8, derived from a 4.2 JLR unit, bored out to 4.3. Stunning engine. It produces 380 brake horsepower, very rev happy, so don't be afraid to use those revs, but also got enough torque to get you up the road as well. Great car, great engine. Let's go out and have a drive. Here he is again, by the way. What an absolute legend. Let's just drink this in for a minute. Guys, we're going to show you the noise this thing makes. I wouldn't normally do it like this. The car is warm, it's all been warmed up and everything's all fine. But the noise a Vantage makes is something unheard of. So it has got a secret weapon, a little Bluetooth thing that makes the valves a bit louder. So have a listen to this. Very nice. Right. So, the Aston Martin Vantage 4.3 V8. This is a car that I've worked with in my career quite a lot, actually. I work for a reputable Aston Martin specialist, and I love these things. I think they are absolutely phenomenal. Value for money and smiles off the chart. It's you know, you can pick these up for, I mean, if you want a rough one, you're probably going to pay 20 grand for it. If you want a really good one, you'll pay 40. But if you shoot somewhere in the middle of that, you'll probably pick up a nice V8 Vantage for around 30 grand. This, back in the day, I mean, they came out, what, I think it was about 2005, 6. I think that's when we had the first of them. And they came onto the scene, and they were widely received as just what a stunning looking car. They were always kind of criticised for never really feeling that fast, but we're going to explore that on this journey, and we're going to see, are they really not as fast as people think? It's such a subjective question, because what is fast to somebody? To my now deceased grandma, her 1.3 Suzuki Swift was fast. So let's see, is it what you would perceive as fast or not? Okay, immediate things to consider. I've jumped in this car and I've not really had to adjust anything really. It's just such a nice intuitive driving position. The steering wheel is sat exactly where I want it. I've got loads of room for my knees and my legs. I've got somewhere to put my left foot. Seats are always very, very comfortable. This is a pre-2007 model year car. So you've got slightly different seats, but I think they're really, really comfortable, and you've got this real nice place to rest your elbow when changing gear. Some people have criticised the Vantage for having a weird gear, gear knob position, sort of like too far back, but I think it's about right. I think it's lovely. So initial feedback on the interior is it's very comfortable. It's a very nice place to be. I think it's aging very, very well. I don't know what it is they did back in the day, but they absolutely nailed the interior design of this car. It hasn't really aged that much. It's got proper buttons that you can press. There are companies out there now that are offering Apple CarPlay for them. You could live with this car every single day. Again, I just want to have a quick moment to just thank Fisher Performance for the last minute call to say, look, we've got a car that's coming as part exchange. It's on your list. Would you like to have a go? It's this one. So big thanks to them. And this car is available with them. I'll find a link to the advert and see so you can see how much it is. But it's done 57,500 miles. You'd never know. So far, first impressions, you'd never know. It drives really, really nicely. No clunking, drives dead and straight, because that's a pet peeve of mine when a car doesn't quite drive straight. Absolutely bang on. I think whoever's owned this car, well done. You've looked after it, sir or madam. This one has got a Bluetooth blipper to just make sure the valve's open all the time on this exhaust. It's quite loud, but it's not overbearing, as you can tell. I can just schlep along, and I can be 2,000 RPM, and it's barely above, standard noise. It's lovely. But when you hear this bridge that through this tunnel, let's just drop a window, and you'll get an idea. Ready? That's I mean, yeah, that does most of the talking for me, doesn't it? So first impressions are great. Steering wheel, really nice, just a nice simple 3-spoke steering wheel. We'll just shut that up so we don't get any wind noise. The aircon's blowing nice and cold today, which is lovely. So, but yeah, ergonomically, lots of vision. You do sit quite low in them, but not so low that you can't see out. I've got really nicely positioned mirrors. Just that one, that's lovely. The dials, absolute Aston Martin classic of the time. The rev counter is on the right hand side and revs backwards, but I'll show you that in a bit more detail. But really nice, clean, crisp dials, very comfortable. So far I'm so comfortable. You do get the feeling that this is an Aston Martin, it is a GT car, but this is more positioned to be a sports car, but you could certainly GT in this. This is the car that you would want, I think, on a shorter journey, maybe than a DB9, as you might compare it to, but it would certainly hold its own on a long journey, without any shadow of a doubt. But the real question is, how does it fare as a driver's car? This is the list, this is the purpose of the list, so let's go and find some slightly nicer roads, and let's show you what it looks like as a driver's car. Right, found ourselves a nice driving road. That noise is just addictive. It's 80% of it for me, this car. The other 20% is fantastic. But you buy an Aston for the noise as much as anything, especially a V8 Vantage. Listen to that. Not very often the louder the better in a road car, but I think it might just be with this one. 5th gear, 60 miles an hour. First little bend, so we're just going to knock it into 4th. Finds its apex perfectly. It's quite light, it's not a lot of weight to the steering, and but I wouldn't say it's vague. It's not vague. Gearbox is lovely, just snacks through 5th to 4th. It's not the quickest rack in the world, so you do have to turn the wheel a bit to get it through the corners, but it's far from lazy. That's brilliant, isn't it? Yes! Sorry, I get all excited with this kind of noise. rider composure is wonderful. I'm not getting bounced around. The ride quality is lovely. Brakes are nice and firm. Just stick it into that left hander there. That's wonderful. sorry to whoever's around here. I hope I'm not disturbing your barbecues. Beautifully controlled into that right hander there. On the brakes. It is a really, really lovely thing to turn through these bends, I have to say. I don't want to press on too hard again because it's not my car. But just leaning on it slightly. And I am finding that I'm getting plenty of shove out the corners from this engine, but we'll talk about that again in a minute. Down to second, couple of pops on the overrun. Just take that apex nicely, give it a bit. I'm really, really impressed so far. I have driven a few of these, admittedly, in my life. But I think the mark of a good car is one that stays with you. One that never gets boring. The Vantage is one of those. Let's just have a little look at the engine in this car. 4.3 litre, naturally aspirated V8, revs to 7,500 RPM. I think it's a belter. And I personally, I'm sceptical about people that might say it's not quite fast enough. I think it's aged really well, and I think it's very of what we want right now in life. I think we want to have a few more revs and we want to just try a little bit harder. So, third gear, pull. Slow. It's not rapid, but it's not slow. Tip it in. It's just a lovely amount of power, that is. I mean, obviously I think it's aided with this exhaust that I've got. But again, if you just lean on it a little bit more, you don't need to go any slower than that or any faster. Tip it in through the right hander. Throttle is beautifully mapped. No lurching or anything like that. Doesn't give you a big wallop of power when you're not expecting it. I think it's a fantastic engine actually, and I think it delivers its performance beautifully. Just touch it on the throttle, just feather it through this right hander. Just going to link up this left hander, second gear. That's half throttle, that's 50% throttle. That's full. It's just wonderful. And listen to that noise as well. I mean, listen to it. Listen to it. It's actually hard to really kind of think of things to say while that noise is going on, because all I can really think of in my head is just how good it sounds. It's incredible. I mean, they're not exactly quiet from factory. Certainly does give you a lot to think about when you've got 30 grand to spend on a car, doesn't it? Does. And it's an Aston as well. You know you're driving an Aston Martin. That's a really, really valuable thing to say from an ownership point of view. It's a fantastic community, the Aston Martin Owners Club. They all look after each other, and they're all just really nice people. Really nice people. Let's flip it back round and go back up that road again, I think. So some conclusions. Things I like, things I don't like. The things I don't like. Things I don't like about Aston Martin is this perception that they're unreliable. They're not really unreliable, to be honest. They are no less reliable than any other car that you might find. They are a very, very simple car in their basics. There's not really a lot to go wrong unless it's either been broken or not maintained correctly. I think if you're thinking of buying an Aston Martin, do it. Buy one from a dealer or somebody that's looked after it, somebody that's going to continue to look after it. Specialist dealers, independents, there's plenty out there. They'll look after you. Servicing them isn't that expensive. You'll do a big service on a Vantage for under £1,000 quid. I think if you're thinking about doing it, do it. Especially a V8. A V8's a wonderful thing. It's not intimidating. The performance isn't wild, but neither is it not thrilling. You have to rev the thing out, and as I made a reference to earlier, it's a bit like a 600cc motorbike. It's still going to be really, really quick if you lean on it, and if you really thrash it a bit, it's going to be more than quick enough. Sure, you haven't got the instant thrust in 4th gear, but it's not exactly slow as it is. And with that soundtrack, it doesn't matter, does it? So, things I like: engine, the way they sound. I love how light the flywheel is, and that's on all V8s. They all do that. The gearbox is really, really nice. Actually, it's just you always think sometimes with big GT cars when they're manuals they'd be a bit heavy and a bit dogged. It's not. It's lovely. Ratios are perfect. I could just do that all day. Just go up and down the gears and just blip. Love it. I don't need to do it, but I will. The looks and just the general feeling and specialness of driving an Aston Martin. I think it's quite easy to be misty-eyed about it, but they flirt with you, don't they, Aston Martin? Any Aston Martin, you know, the equivalent Porsche or whatever. Sure, engineering terms, it might be superior. I don't care. This is an Aston Martin, and Aston Martins are, well, they're special. So there we have it. Another car ticked off the list, guys. This one certainly deserves its place on the list, no doubt about it. When this car came out, yes, there were things like the V10 M5 and M6 that came out. It was being positioned against 911s. Any car that comes into the 911 space and takes some of its customers away is a success. Likewise, the BMW, it's a V10 with 500 brake horsepower. It's a completely different car. That's not really the same kind of car as this, in my opinion. I wouldn't compare the two. I think this is much more of an agile, on its toes machine, and I certainly wouldn't be afraid to take this across continent. I think this would be a lovely car to drive all over the world. So yeah, another car ticked off the list. Thank you again, Fisher Performance, for loaning me this Vantage to do this video on. Hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've got a small snippet of what it's like. I think the conclusion really is that Aston Martins are special, and when they get you, they do get you. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and keep liking, commenting, subscribing, etc, etc. If you have a car that's on the list, please check out the Lloyd Tries Cars Instagram page. You can see all the cars I'm looking to film on that. Yeah, again, thanks so much, guys. Hopefully see you on the next one.